CJ Flyer back with another YouTube video. We are only about a couple hours away from the start of the NBA regular season, but before the games begin, I did want to talk a little bit about these rookie contract extensions, as yesterday evening was the rookie contract extension deadline for the season, and we had some notable players sign some last-minute contract extensions. Of course, we had some that got announced a few months ago, a couple weeks ago. We're going to go ahead and rate them all, just give my opinion on them, and talk about some of the players that didn't get a rookie contract extension. So I'm here on NBA.com. There's a compiled list right here of all the players that got extended this offseason, including some of those last-minute signings. And then below, there's going to be some players that did not get their extensions. And we're going to be talking about all of that upcoming here. Now, in a minute, real quick, just for the next minute. I do want to comment, just for anyone that's not aware of how this works. If you don't get a rookie contract extension and you go into the upcoming free agency as a free agent, the way it works is these players will be what's called restricted free agents. So basically, if another team makes an offer, the team that the player was with prior will have a chance to match that contract offer if the player accepts it. So, let's say, for example, Josh Giddey gets a 3-year, $150 million deal from the Washington Wizards, which I'm just making things up, okay? This is not happening. That's a lot of money. Unless Josh Giddey becomes a triple-double machine, I don't think we'll see that. But let's just say that the Wizards offered that in the 2025 offseason. The Bulls would have the chance to then match that offer. And then if they do, then Giddey has no choice but to go back to the Bulls. So that's just an example of how it works. It's not like the current team loses any all chances at retaining that player. So that's how it works with players at the end of their rookie contracts. So these extensions basically mean that the team is trying to lock the player in at a certain price long term, or they just in general want to have the player around. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Cade Cunningham for the Detroit Pistons, 5 years, $224 million. He's the number one pick in 2021. And if we go ahead and scroll down and look at his stats for the first 3 seasons, of course, he was in the top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting, and last year was his first season averaging over 20 points per game. Of course, in that 2022-2023 season, he had an injury he was dealing with. But he made the comeback, and he shot around the league average for three-pointers, for three-point percentage, with 5.5 three-pointers per game. Obviously the best player on this struggling Detroit Pistons team. And despite all of that, also getting that 7.5 assists per game. That is a beautiful stat to see. So, obviously I'm not really too surprised by the contract extension here. In fact, I would say it's kind of expected he would get a lot of money like this. So 5 years, $224 million. So that's just under $50 million per deal or per year. So what would that be? That would be in the 40s. So pretty good deal considering that by the time we reach, say, year 4, year 5 of this contract, Cade Cunningham might be considered underpaid at that point. With the new TV deal and the potential for these contracts to get higher and higher and the salary cap to raise higher and higher year over year, by the 4th and 5th year of this contract, it might look to be a bit undervalued depending on how Cunningham's playing. So good deal for the Pistons to lock in their franchise player long term. I would give this one a solid B+, because I don't think it's by far a steal or anything, but it's good the Pistons locked in their player. Jalen Green for the Houston Rockets. He was the number 2 pick. Go ahead and look at his stats here. He was 4th in Rookie of the Year voting in 2021-2022. His scoring took a little bit of a regression, if you will. Last year, of course, we had the additions of Fred VanVleet to the Houston Rockets, as well as Dylan Brooks. So naturally, he might not have to score as many points. He did play all 82 games, which is something that is very rare in today's NBA for players that are considered the better players on their team. So I mean, I would say, yeah, this is a pretty good signing by them. 3 years, 106 million. There's still a lot of debate as to whether Jalen Green is a future star or not. Obviously, he's a good player, but there are some questions about his efficiency. So yeah, it's not a bad deal. Kind of see how things play out. It looks like the Rockets aren't willing to gamble on a longer deal than 3 years and 106 million. His payment per year roughly in the 30s. So that's a pretty solid deal. I'd also give that one around a B plus. Like it's good for the Houston Rockets. They're being careful, they're being cautious, but at the same time, they like what they see, and they want to have a chance at signing Jalen Green to another extension in a couple of years here. Evan Mobley for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now the Cavs, Evan Mobley's not a bad player. Obviously, he's a really good player. If we go ahead, scroll down, look at his stats. Obviously, a lot of things stand out here. You look at the blocks per game, you look at the rebounds. You look at the field goal percentage, which for a big you'd expect it to be pretty high. You look at the three-point percentage this past season. Obviously, huge improvement there. Not a lot of volume, but nonetheless, it's good to have a big that's shooting right around the league average for three-pointers. And the steals, he does it on both ends, offense and defense. He's got the defensive stats. He's not expected to be the leading scorer when you got Donovan Mitchell on that team. And a couple other guys as well. But yeah, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing on that team. The games played, obviously, he had some issues last year, but nothing that we haven't seen with other star players in the league. So I look at this and I would say, yeah, comparing it to the Cade Cunningham contract, obviously, Mobley's not. I don't see him as being like the number one guy on a team anytime soon, whereas Cade Cunningham is very clearly the number one option on his team for at least the next couple years. As far as Evan Mobley goes, he is. I don't know if I'd say a rarity in the league, but it's harder to come by players of his skill set rather than a scorer, right? There's a lot of guys that can be scorers in the league, but Evan Mobley is one of those guys where he brings a little bit of that offense and that defense, and he's a versatile player, right? So, and it looks like he's developing his outside shot as well. So I think this is a fair contract. I'd probably put it towards a B or a B minus because I don't know that I see Evan Mobley as one of the top players in the league moving forward, but he'll be a solid player. So I'd give that like a B. Scottie Barnes is the next player here. He's going to be the best player on the Raptors. I believe I mentioned him as a potential most improved player candidate for this upcoming season. He won Rookie of the Year in 2022, and he is now basically the lead guy on the Raptors team after they trade Pascal Siakam. He is the man. He's probably going to average over 20 points per game this season. That's the expectation. His three-point percentage has improved. His volume has increased with the percentage improving. That two positives right there. He gets boards, he gets assists, he gets steals and blocks. Like he's out there doing it all because he's the guy. This deal for him comes at no surprise at all. I would even almost put this slightly above Cade Cunningham. I'd put it around like a B plus, A minus type grade. Jalen Suggs for the Orlando Magic, basically getting roughly $30 million per year for a 5-year deal, locked in. Jalen Suggs, of course, from Gonzaga. I believe he had that game winner in the Final Four against UCLA a few years ago, if I remember correctly. He was 10th for Defensive Player of the Year. Not sure that really means a whole lot when you're that far down the list, but nonetheless, he was on the list. He's not a bad player. He's not like expected to be the scorer on this team. You got guys like Paolo, you got Franz Wagner, you got Cole Anthony on the team, you got Wendell Carter Jr. I don't know. You got a lot of players on that team that can definitely score. So he's what, more of like a bench guy or role guy at times. He did start all 75 games that he played last season. The season before that, not so much. So he's kind of progressed his role a little bit. But looking at the contract, I guess, see, this is where contracts are getting really hard to read at times now. Like, is he worth $30 million per year? I guess with like the future salary cap, that might be considered a steal. With the current one, I feel like the deal is sort of fair. I don't know. Would Jalen Suggs get paid that much if he were on another team? That's the real question. I guess you're paying for the potential upside here. I'm not like a huge fan of the extension, to be honest. But I get why it is where it is. So I'd probably give it like a B minus personally. Franz Wagner. Now this one I think is definitely a overvalued deal. 5 years, $224 million. If we look at Franz Wagner's stats, his scoring numbers have been going up recently. As far as everything else he provides, I know he's a solid defender too. His outside shooting kind of dwindled a bit last year, under 30% from three. That's not what you want to see from a guy that's supposedly going to be one of your top players as you try to, make a further playoff push in future seasons. You added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I mean, you can't lie to me and tell me the Magic aren't trying to compete in the West this year. And I've talked about the Magic before as I think they'll surprise some people this year, and they'll be one of the top teams in the East potentially. Not in the top two, but they'll be one of the top teams in the East. That being said, I can't help but feel like this is kind of an overpay for Franz Wagner. I mean, you look at these stats compared to, and I know stats don't tell the whole picture, but you look at, guys that got the same deal, like Cade Cunningham, like Evan Mobley, like Scottie Barnes. Cade Cunningham and Scottie Barnes, they're like the guys on their team. They are the number one options. They can do a lot of things. Cade Cunningham scores, he gets assists. He can get some rebounds and steals. Scottie Barnes does it all. Rebounds, assists, steals, block, offense, defense, contributions. Evan Mobley, he's got a unique skill set that's not widely available in the league. He might not be the number one scoring option, but he can score. And then we got Franz Wagner. And I'm not saying he's not a well-rounded player. Obviously, he's got an offensive and defensive skill set that's valuable. But he's not the guy on the team, or whereas Evan Mobley is like the guy in terms of his skill set. Franz Wagner, I don't know. I just these contracts are being offered to guys that are expected to have potential to be their number one option. Is Franz Wagner going to be a number one option for the Magic? I don't think so. So I think it's a bit of an overpay personally. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying I don't know. That might have been jumping the gun a bit there as far as paying him that much money. And it's something that, depending on how much salary cap increase in the next few years, could hurt the Magic. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So I give this one a pretty low grade. I don't know if I'd go as far as F like you see in the thumbnail, but maybe like a C minus. We'll give it a C minus. Corey Kispert of the Washington Wizards. This is a steal. This is, whereas the Franz Wagner one I feel is a bit of an overpay. Look at Corey Kispert, and I just want to compare these numbers, by the way. Corey Kispert, 13 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, 3-point percentage is above the league average. We look at Jalen Suggs, and similar scoring, point totals. Obviously, the defense getting 1.5 steals per game, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 3-point percentage is good. So, the fact that the Wizards were able to lock him in for what's basically going to be, what is that, like $13 million per year? That just feels like a steal. I feel like in a couple years, some playoff contender, championship contender, is going to be throwing some assets at the Wizards to trade for him. Like, this is just such a good quality contract for a guy that I feel has yet to show his true potential in this league. This is an insane deal for the Wizards. A+ for sure. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked he couldn't get more money. He got basically half of what Suggs is getting on a per year basis. which to me, I think is just ridiculous. Şengün of the Houston Rockets, if we go ahead and scroll down to his stats, he, of course, also has a little bit of injury issue. His three-point percentage is not the best. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. Last year, his scoring totals, of course, increased quite a bit, and he's a bit of a facilitator, if you will, as a big. So he's still got room to improve. You'd like to see the three-point percentage improve a bit, but nonetheless, he's proven that he's going to be like he's a quality player moving forward. If anything, he should have been the one to get 224 in 5 years, not Franz Wagner. I would have swapped these two numbers. If I had control of every team in the league, I'd swap these two numbers. I don't know. This is a really good deal. I'd give this probably. I know the thumbnail says B+. I'd probably give this honestly like an A or an A+. This is a really good deal. This one and the Corey Kispert deals are like my two favorite out of all of these personally. Trey Murphy, I haven't actually taken a look at his stats yet today. Let's go ahead and take an eyeball, put an eyeball on those. Three-point percentage, I kind of expected it was going to be high. Yeah, Trey Murphy's great. Injuries, yes, just like every Pelicans player under the sun. But man, they're locking him in for under $30 million a year for 4 years, and he was averaging 15 points per game with the potential to probably average some more, especially if the Pelicans trade Brandon Ingram. Look, that's a solid deal. That's an A right there. Jalen Johnson, this is a typo. Just want to make that clear, because when I first saw this, I thought this might be the worst rookie contract extension of all time. He is getting paid a 5-year, $150 million extension. It's not a 3-year. So it's $30 million per year, not $50 million per year. If it was 50, I'd just question everything Atlanta's ever done in their existence. But no, this is a solid deal. I think it's kind of like a buy low, sell high kind of thing potentially. He look at this last season. Just look at it. He jumped up from 5 points per game to 16 points per game after the Hawks made some adjustments to their roster. He gets boards, he gets assists, he gets steals, he gets blocks. He does it with, his three-point percentage improved, his volume went up. It's everything you want to see in the stats column. I haven't seen a whole lot of him as far as like play time and watching footage. So, I'm just a casual NBA fan anyways, just like a lot of NBA analysts, right? But no, I don't know a whole lot about Jalen Johnson, but just looking at the numbers alone, looks pretty solid. I think that's a good quality deal for a guy that could potentially become, now that DeJounte Murray's gone, that guy, Jalen Johnson, is he like a top 3 option on that team? Potentially. Jaden Hardy, now this, I watch the Mavericks all the time, so I know about this. This is an amazing deal. By the way, Jalen Johnson deal, I'll give that like an A. Jaden Hardy deal, A+. I'm biased, but A+. 3 years, $18 million for a guy that on off nights, let's look at his career high points, 29. Yeah, I mean, this guy can just light it up at any moment. Incredible extension by the Dallas Mavericks. This could be a very tradable contract in a couple years. Not that I want to see him traded, but I'm just throwing that out there. You look at his three-point shooting, it's looking solid. It went down a little bit last year, but it's still right around the league average. He's primarily a scoring guard, if you will, but he can facilitate a little bit, and he has some explosiveness to him, which is what I really like to see, some hustle and explosiveness, which you can't really see very well in the stats here because a lot of the games that he ends up playing, he's out there with Kyrie, he's out there with Luka. He's not really like the main guy with the ball in his hands when he's out there playing, except for when those guys are, or at least one of those guys is out. Then you'll see more of Jaden Hardy running the show, and when he does that, he's looking incredible. Career high assists, he's got 9. So yeah, he can do it. I know more about him than some of these other guys, just being a Dallas Mavericks fan, seeing more of the games. So really great deal by the Dallas Mavericks, A+. So just looking at all of these in a nutshell, I would say the Franz Wagner extension and the well, yeah, basically the 2 Magic extensions are the worst in this list, in my opinion. The best ones, Corey Kispert, Şengün, Jaden Hardy. Those are the 3 best. And then I'd say the ones in the middle ground, well, I guess Jalen Johnson, we can throw that one in there too, and the Trey Murphy one. Those were all really good. The best contract extension, if I had to pick one, oh man, maybe the Trey Murphy extension. Yeah, probably have to go with that. Notable players that didn't get extensions signed. So we got the center from the Grizzlies. We have Josh Giddey from the Bulls. This is kind of, a prove-it season for him to see if he can get better offers. Obviously, a lot of people have sold their stock on Josh Giddey, but maybe this upcoming season he can prove himself on a team that is not expected to do a whole lot. Jonathan Kuminga, with Klay Thompson gone, this is kind of a prove-it season for him too. Can he start to evolve into more of a star player? And Davion Mitchell with the Toronto Raptors, kind of a similar situation. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think most of these are at least decent deals, with a couple that I do have some a little bit of an eyebrow raiser, but nonetheless not anything that I would immediately say is terrible. Well, I don't know. I did say I don't like the Franz Wagner trade. I'm probably in the minority on this one, but I don't know. I'd still think the Magic are going to be one of the better teams in the East this year, though. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and click one of the videos on the screen right now for some more NBA discussion.